Okay, so we're just going to walk up to start with. Okay, so as he's going past, he's over tracking, so he's moving his back foot past the track of the front. He's swinging the right hind outwards. His tail carriage is good. If anything, he looks slightly lower on his right hip. You can see the stiffness in the hocks as he walks. Try and straight line, dear, all the way up to the car, and then back. That's it, come back from there. Okay, so as he's coming back, he's swinging nicely through the front legs. Little stumble there, that is a little bit stony here. He's just flicking the toes. He is landing lateral to medial. Okay, and again, as he marches past, you can see there's not a lot of back movement there, but again, unsurprising. If we just walk one more time, actually just because...
In a straight line, yeah.
Straight line's good. Okay, so let's get in behind straight away now. So we can see that there's definitely a swinging the hind limbs in and then placing them out. It happens more with the right hind than the left. But otherwise, again, the movement for a 22-year-old horse seems to be fairly enthusiastic and forward going. That's it. Again, swinging in very slightly with the front feet, landing lateral to medial. Good knit flexion through the knees though. We'll have a look at the fetlocks as he comes past this time. And he's got a reasonable fetlock extension there. He allows the fetlocks to drop. There's not as much stiffness as you might expect. Right, we're going to do trot this time. Try not to go too fast with him. I know how enthusiastic he is. Okay. So we can see there he's not trucking up in trot. Possibly looks actually now a little bit like there's a bit of a hip hike on the left. It's a very subtle one, but it matches with the stiffness reported in the history. Okay, if you'd like to come back. So as he trots back in front, he's moving fairly evenly in front. Actually, there's less lateral to medial landing in front as he comes back. And I'm going to get you to go one more time.
This is your exercise for the day, Storm.
So again, not quite tracking up as he trots away. We've got much closer behind now. We haven't got the same amount of deviation of the limb coming in and then swinging out with the hind limbs. And through all of this, he's predominantly been on two tracks. He hasn't actually been swinging the quarters markedly to one side or the other. Okay, as you go past this time, have a little look at his fetlock extension. Keep going. And again, actually not too bad. There's a little bit of stiffness there all round. Okay, so what I need you to do is stand at his shoulder and ask him to turn on a tight circle around you. So he's almost doing like a turn on the forehand, but with his front legs moving. Good, okay. So we can see there he can bend through the neck. Ask him to go forward again. That's it, so it's sort of forward on a circle, good. He's quite happy to step round on the circle. He will bring the left hind in and cross under, but there is some reluctance to do that. As Rosie increases the pressure on him to step under, this is when he stops. But he's bringing the right hind round, and there is some lateral flexion through the back as well. Okay, let's go the other way. So that was to the Stormy's left. He's now going round to his right. Again, he's bending through the head, but there's a bit of a head tilt. Ask him to go forward. So he's actually finding this harder work. Okay, now he's going forward. Good boy. Okay, he's bringing the right hind forward, but he's not really taking it, crossing it under. Just see if he'll do a little bit tighter and cross that hind limb. Okay, so he can do it, but it's not as comfortable. He's bending slightly better through the neck now, and he is bending through the body, but there's obviously limitations there. Right, so now we're going to ask him to go backwards. So if you pop a hand on his chest, okay, so as he goes back, the head carriage stays high. He is going in diagonal pairs. He isn't scraping his toes, which is good, and he's actually staying in fairly straight line. There is a little bit of lift there in the lumbar back, so this is actually very good. That's fine, stop there. Okay, so normally obviously we'd have a handler. Due to the social distancing measures that we're undertaking at the moment, and the fact that Rosie's now my camerawoman, he's going to be stood loose rather than tied up, and we're just going to have to see how we go. But obviously I'm going to just go through the palpation sequence, and we're going to go from there. So, first of all, if I had a handler, I'd obviously say I'm going to be changing sides. Please stay on the same side as me. We need him stood nice and straight. I'm going to palpate. Good. Okay, so my fingers are on the very top of the atlas. I'm palpated from one side. I'm just going to check my reading from the other side. Good boy. And he's dorsal on his left side. Okay. So, even though Storm isn't the biggest of thoroughbreds, he does have a tendency to have his head very high. So in order to feel the tilt, stand still, sweetheart. Good boy. Okay, I need to get on my box. Come here, sweetheart. So I'm now sitting just behind that palpation point. So it's at the front of my fingers so I can feel which side is more caudal. I'm going to again go from one side and check from the other. Stormy. Okay. So he's caudal on the right side. So he's dorsal, on the left, and caudal on the right. I'm now going to move my box one out of the way and carry on down Storm's neck. So from C1 we're now going to C2, C3, C4. Keep it straight, sweetheart. And C5. And there's a lot of muscle tension in Storm's neck, unsurprisingly. When you think about conformationally how well developed he is through the brachiocephalic and the way that he carries his head and neck in gait. So he's dorsal, C2 on the left, C3 on the left, C4 on the left, and C5 on the left. So dorsally he's all the way through on the left side. It's caudality of the atlas that's on the right, and he thinks he's already having a treatment. He's already relaxing there. So, which is quite something, because Stormy doesn't really do relaxing.
No.
So now I'm going to have a little sweep down through his back. Now the first time I go down through his back, I'm just getting a general feel for what's going on before I start to think about what's more specifically happening through his back. So because Storm's got quite pronounced withers, stand still, sweetheart. We know that we're starting here at T4, T5 being the highest vertebrae, and T5 goes to the left, T6, 7, right 8, 9, left. Okay, again, thinking about his history, we know that he's having to have, he loses condition, he needs padding up around the saddle. It's unsurprising that we've got some misalignments through the withers for that reason. He's actually then not too bad through the sort of mid to late thoracics. As we get to the back of the saddle, again, probably can't see it on the video, but there's a little bit of rubbing of the hair. He's not sore on the skin, but obviously there is a little bit of movement going on with the saddle and the way he moves. So you're blocking the video, Storm. As we get to the first lumbar, well, T18 goes to the left, and then the first lumbar, second lumbar, third lumbar all come to the right quite markedly. And then seems to straighten out actually through the last of the lumbars. So I'm just going to check my findings from the other side. So again, just start with a sweep through. Okay, and again we've got 5. Good still. 5 to the left. More markedly. 6, 7 to the right. 8, 9 left. Keep your head straight. If they move the head a lot, then it will just change things. And again, I'm in a very marked curvature to the right through the first numbers. So back of the saddle and front of the saddle areas. Okay. There's actually more of a rub mark as well on that right side of his back than there is here on the left side. Come on, sweetheart. Come on, sweetheart. Come on, sweetheart. Come on, sweetheart. Good lad. Okay, so it's not comfortable for him to stand square, so we are going to have to make a decision quite quickly. So he's definitely rotated ventrally on the right of the pelvis. He is totally tilted right on the pelvis, and that's backed up by the feeling at the ischiatic tuberosities as well. Hopefully he'll stay square for the left. Yes. Okay, and he's cranial on the left side of his TS. It looks like his TS wouldn't be easy to find, but in actual fact, even though he's actually very well covered here, as you slide back, you can pick out straight away as you meet the bony prominences of the TS. So he's definitely cranial on the left now. Normally we check that from the other side, but because we're in quite a confined space, I'm going to take the reading from this side as it's fitting the pelvic palpation readings. Right, which finally leaves us with the feet. So we can see there's a slight lateral rotation of the limb from the knee, and then he comes back inwards again. We know that he's landing lateral medial. As they get older, sometimes it's not as easy to feel the lateral condyles because there's changes going on within the pasterns. And looking at this case, he's very slightly medial in his rotation of his left foot. Think it's the through the storms. Careful, good boy, well done. We'll keep it there. Are we going to move it? I thought we might. Looked like it was going to move. Okay, and then coming down, and the right fore is more obviously medial. Okay, you want to do that again. So it's quite quick. He moved his leg. So we can see from the lateral condyles, you can either be on the inside or the outside of them as long as you're at the same place on both. So a little bit of a medial rotation there.